All right, so imagine for a second if your business matched your moods. Imagine that, just think about that for a second. You wake up in the morning, it's a bad day. At that exact time, your business just goes through the floor and just tanks. Equally, for those small pockets of when you feel good, your business just explodes. You start making a ton of revenue, your profit increases, all things start to just like disproportionately grow. Imagine that for a second. Now, the very real truth is that a lot of business owners and a lot of founders experience that, but they experience that on a time-adjusted basis, meaning they work when they feel good, and then when they don't feel good, they don't work, or they work at a really low, ordinary level of pace, intensity, and volume, such that their business in the next 2 to 3 months eventually starts to experience the decline of their lower degree of intensity and output. And this whole video and this whole concept today is going to be about that idea. How do you, or what is the best way for you to get the results that you want in your business by doing the work required to get the results, irrespective of if you feel like it? Because here's the thing. One thing that I've learned after a decade of building multiple different businesses is that your business doesn't care. It doesn't wake up one morning and say, okay, look, Sasha, today's one of those days where you feel a little bit ordinary and you feel like you're, I don't know, a bit tired. And it feels like, yeah, your confidence is a little bit low. Let's just take it easy for a minute. Let's just relax for a minute. And I'll come back to you tomorrow when you feel good. Don't worry. I'll take care of those problems. And don't worry about any of those things. Don't worry about any of the issues. Don't worry about any of the ad spend. Don't worry about any of the, paying people. You feel bad today, so let's revisit all these problems tomorrow. It's like, what kind of world would we live in if that was true? Your business is a machine. It is a emotionless, feelingless machine that continues to consume all the resources that you will give it and some, and it just requires certain inputs for it to get the growth that you want. And so if you strip all the emotion out of it, which is quite challenging for some people, that's the facts, all right? Your business is an inanimate object. It doesn't have any disposition. It doesn't have any feeling. It doesn't have any sentiment towards you doing good things, you doing bad things. It just needs certain levels of inputs for it to grow and get the results that you want. And so if you think through that lens, one of the biggest challenges, especially for early stage founders, if you're making less than $10 million per year, this video is going to be particularly relevant for you, because above that stage, the same rule applies. It just needs to be more concentrated and more specific. But if you're making less than $10 million annually, what generally happens is the issue that most founders run into is that they just don't simply do enough of the reps to be able to get good, to then graduate into the position whereby the probability, or just the blunt math of any form of equation, actually begins to warrant them the results. Let me explain this in a really simplified version. Let's say, for example, year to date, this is a great example. I've analyzed about 9,200 creatives year to date across a multitude of different ad accounts, different businesses, different products, different verticals, different industries, different price points, the whole entire gamut, 9,000 creatives that have run paid media through those creatives across heaps of different ad accounts. Okay, and so if you want to have a guess right now at the level or the win rate, when I say win rate, I mean price being below KPI and then volume being above KPI, because we want both of those things. You don't just want to have super cheap acquisition with like 4 purchases, or you don't really just want purchases, like you need both. You need the right cost and then you need volume. You need both of those things to work hand in hand, right? Or you don't want volume at like 10 times the price. Like, they need to match. And so when I talk about winning creatives, I mean, how do we get an acquisition cost that is below KPI? And also, how do I drive substantial volume to the effect of having that creative run for longer than 7 to 10 days, right? Because 7 to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, that's a pretty typical kind of creative cycle for most ads if they're just like ordinary. Then they fatigue and then they decline and then they just, go to shit. So it's like, okay, that's the definition, first things first, of what I classify as a winning creative. Below KPI cost, volume above KPI, meaning whether that's 100 purchases, whether that's 1,000 purchases, this needs to be something that drives substantial revenue for that particular company. Some of these ads that I analyzed, they had driven 200 plus 250, some up to 400 plus thousand dollars of revenue at a 6x multiple over a 8-week span. And that's an extremely good example of winning creative KPI. So think about this for a moment. I analyzed 9,000 creatives. Out of those 9,000 creatives, a certain portion of those 9,000 were winning creatives by the definition that I've just shared. So then, let's think, what is the percentage of winning creatives versus non-winning creatives? Okay, some people might say a random stab in the dark, 10%, 20%, 30%, etc. The math worked out to be about 1,150 winning creatives out of 9,000, so about 12% or thereabouts. Cool. So then, those winning creatives outdid or paid for all of the losses, right? So the other 7,800 or thereabouts creatives essentially lost money or had to lose money to find the winners, right? That makes sense. Probability, math, economics, it all kind of breaks down and makes sense. Cool. So then, here's where the volume play comes in. What happens is as new founders, I'm classifying new as anyone that's making less than $10 million a year, right? I'm sorry to put you in that bucket, but you just are, all right? Anyone who is a new founder, right, they look at the volume game of creative and they go, okay, cool. So that's about every 1 in 10. That's not too bad odds, meaning if I shoot 10 ads, one of them should essentially go into hyperscale mode and I should be able to get some really good performance. But here's what you don't understand. When you are in that stage of kind of beginning, right? You're just in the earlier stages, you're testing different things, you're trying different things. You might get a lucky break and get some winning creative. You might get a lucky break and scale some ads over here. What you don't understand is your skill set. Okay, your skill set is the biggest delta that drives all the rest of the performance. And so what happens is when you're starting, your skill set's very low. I call this like low level, almost like, I wouldn't say unconscious incompetence. That's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. I would say like conscious incompetence, meaning I know that I'm not that good at these things. You've got those 4 layers, right? Unconscious incompetence, you don't know what you don't know, right? Conscious incompetence, which are the things that you know that you don't know, right? Geez, I know that I'm really bad at that thing, it's really horrible. Then you've got conscious competence, meaning like when I really pay attention to this thing and I focus all of my energy, all of my effort, I'm good at it. And then you've got unconscious competence, which is just master of the universe fashion. And most people, they're in those stages in the middle, right? Either conscious incompetence or conscious competence, either of those 2 vectors. And both of those stages require such volume of work to just reach the 12%. And this is where people screw themselves up. Because they go, okay, so 1 in 10, I can do 1 in 10, that's fine. I'm gonna go and shoot 10 ads. Right, that's okay, that's not too bad. But what this doesn't allow for, what these math don't really allow for, is the fact that to get the 1 in 10, you got to build the skill of being able to create the ads or create the content that would then perform at a 1 in 10 rate, right? And one of my first ever mentors, Jordan Belfort, he had this saying, and it was one of the most clear definitions of this whole process is, he calls it the waterline. And if you think about it, right, you've got this water, right, and then you are essentially, when you are building a new business, you're below the waterline. No one even sees you, no one knows you, you're not real, it doesn't exist, it feels like a fake in here, it feels like a fraud in here, you're like, good God, like this is just, I'm working so hard, I'm working 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week, and nothing is even moving. It's like, it doesn't matter what I do, I push so hard over here, I push so hard over here, I push so hard over here, and it's like it's like me punching sand. Nothing happens. And so the reason for that is because you're so low down that skill ladder in that layer of like conscious incompetence. You just like, you don't know, or you're sometimes in that layer of like unconscious incompetence. You're like, oh, I didn't even know that I needed to be good at that thing. I didn't even know that like that was possible or necessary for me to get good. And this is where people get stuffed up. They're so far down below that waterline, they're operating in this position where they're trying really hard, getting no results, trying really hard, getting no results. And they're seeing math and they're seeing numbers of like 1 in 10, 12%. I'm like, that's pretty good. I could see how I could potentially get that. That kind of makes sense. But what they discount for or don't understand is that their skill is not even at baseline level yet. And what that means is once you breach the waterline and you reach over the level where you almost like graduate into quote unquote the game, it's like you get off using the training wheels and you actually get onto the field, take the training wheels off, now you're in the game, then you start to get access to the 1 into 10 type math. And the issue is down below that waterline, sometimes the volume math works out to be like 100 into 1. Or you got to do 100 reps just to get 1. Or you might have to do 300 reps just to get 1. Or you might, God forbid, have to do 1,000 reps just to get 2, right? And this is what is just wildly difficult to understand, to wrap your head around, because what you do is you measure yourself based on other people, you look at their results and you look at what they're getting and they're 1 into 10 or they're 12% or they're 15% and they're 6x return, and you're like, well, geez, I guess they're kind of similar to me, and I could probably do that. Like, how hard is it? Like, surely. And you start flipping some creatives, or doing some, I don't know, sales calls, or starting to, I'm not sure, read and learn about a particular subject, having some hard conversations, making some difficult decisions, learning finance, whatever your certain issue that you might be having might be. I like to use the examples of sales calls, creatives, because they're naturally really high repetition type focuses that require a lot of volume. And so what happens is you measure yourself based against these people, or based against these kind of metrics or KPIs that you've established to be like, well, that seems kind of usual. Me telling you, right, 1,150 into 9,000. Well, I could probably do like 12%. But what you don't understand is that your skill set may be so far below where the brand founders are that I measured these stats at. And what you need to understand is there may be 3 months, there may be 6 months, there may be goddamn 12 months where you need to battle through the shit. And when I say battle through the shit, I mean genuinely be underwater and quote unquote making progress, but seeing nothing. And this is an extremely challenging thing to actually wrap your head around, because what happens is you're underwater, you're working really hard. You might as well be working at a barista cafe or working at McDonald's, because you'll make more money, right? Funny story, when I was going through some really difficult times in my business about probably 6 or 7 years ago now, I was working about 90 to 100 hours per week, and my business was making about 1,000 to maybe like 2,000 per week in profit, right? And I was having to work so hard for that at that time. And we were going for a walk, my wife and I, one afternoon, walking along the water there down near the Gold Coast. And I remember thinking to myself very specifically, what the fuck are you doing? And she said it to me very openly. She's like, you do know that right now you could be working at McDonald's and you could make more money than what you're making right now. And it was completely true. It was completely true. But the rationale or the reasoning that I kept justifying myself over and over again with was that if I stopped doing the work, I would for sure guarantee that I would never get the result, right? And this is the thing, what I said at the start. If you work based on your feelings, your business will be a constant seesaw, right? Because there's the delay mechanism of the waterline at play all the time with all new skills that you have to master. Take the creative as an example. You're really bad at creative. I think about like this. How bad is it? How bad does it feel to suck at something? I'm like, it's really bad. Like, it's bad for your confidence. You feel really bad. You don't want to do the thing. You avoid the thing. You're constantly looking to do something else. You're looking to find the thing that you're good at to prop yourself up and make yourself feel better. And this is what happens over and over and over again. So you keep avoiding the thing that you're bad at to continue doing the other stuff that maybe makes you feel good. And that's exactly where the problem lies, because it keeps you under the waterline in exactly the same fashion as, let's hypothetically say, myself 6 or 7 years ago, when I was going through that situation and I was working really hard week on week on week on month on month on month on month, and nothing was changing, right? But what I was building was quote unquote invisible money, right? It was money that had not yet occurred, but I was building the skill and I was gradually moving myself up from below the water to breach the water line. And I was building production capacity, and I was building skill set, and I was building resilience, and I was building emotional capacity in terms of being able to consistently do the work without seeing the result. And so what happens is, when you're out there and you're pushing hard into a particular objective, like creative, like getting good at sales, like trying to learn some new objective in your business, what the best piece of advice is that I can give you is to, first things first, understand that you are probably way below that waterline. You're so far down beneath what is reasonably acceptable or reasonably probable for you to even be close to hitting quote unquote KPI metrics. And it's almost like, forget about the fucking KPIs. I wouldn't even worry about the KPIs. I would be so obsessed in the same way that I was with just doing the work, right? And the work means the inputs. This means just sitting down and just blatantly doing the volume. So many pieces of volume to the point where what happens as an extension of you doing the volume is your confidence also goes up, right? And like I said, if you're constantly oscillating between doing good quality work in your business because you feel good, and then stopping and ceasing all business operations because you feel bad, your business will just go through constant volatility. It's an extremely difficult place to be. However, if you're able to kind of detach from your feelings and just consistently do the work over and over and over again, what you build is you build this relationship that goes, when I consistently do the work and when I consistently do the volume, I'm building recognition, or I'm building a feedback loop that goes, I feel good when I do the inputs, regardless of what happens in respect to the outputs. Because what I know is there's a delay mechanism. And so if I just obsessed on producing 100 pieces of creative per day, as an example, and I just did that for 6 months straight, is there any likelihood that you would have to do that, right? 100 pieces of creatives a day, right? 18,000 pieces of creatives in 6 months is what you've produced. Is there any probability that in that time, A, you won't have a whole bunch of winners, B, you won't be world class at developing creatives, which is the real skill, and you'll have taken yourself from so far down below that waterline to way up, breaching the waterline in a much shorter time period? Because in exactly the same way as what would you like to do if you rip a Band-Aid off your skin? Would you like to slowly and gradually remove it along with each of the hairs under that Band-Aid piece by piece by piece? Or would you prefer to rip it off really quickly and just get rid of that thing? I don't know about you, but I'd probably prefer to tear that thing off damn quick. And that's what you want to do in respect to the areas in your business where you are deficient. You don't want to spend a whole bunch of time there, because that is time spent in an area where you are at your deficit, where your skill set is very low. You are very poor at the skill, meaning you every day, week, month that you spend at that low level skill set, continuing to accept that low level skill set as normal, you are losing your business future money by not getting good at it, right? think about it like this. It's like at each stage of your business, it's going to require a different level of skill set and capacity. 0 to 1 million, you kind of got to just figure out like, what the hell am I going to sell? And let's just sell that thing to anybody. 1 million to 10 million, you've kind of figured that one thing out. And you're like, hell yeah, I'm doing the one thing. We're doing it quite well. We're selling it on one platform and we're scaling budgets. You kind of do one thing and then you do it a little bit better and you just refine and tighten all of the cogs, and it kind of gets you to a position where you're like, cool, I can get to $1 million a month selling one thing to one person on one platform with one promise. I call that the 4 Ps. Once you've done that, then you need to kind of shift gears into people, and then it goes into how do you scale attention and how do you scale capacity? Because then you need to sell one thing to more people or sell the same thing more times to the same person, or you develop more products and you sell more products. We need to extend out the amount of margin. Each of those different landscapes require different skill sets. And so if you think about it, let's say, for example, you've graduated from the 0 to 1 million mark. Congratulations, well done. Now you're in the range, or now you're in the stage, rather, of going, okay, how do I sell more of this widget to more people? Well, it means you need to learn all of the aspects of your business from the front right through until the back. Usually there's some requirements as far as some hiring. Usually there's some requirements as far as marketing, demand gen, conversion optimization. And so each and every single day, week, month, quarter, that those issues continue to remain, you are robbing your future self of revenue and profit that you could be realizing if you had this skill. Do you understand? And it's like that Band-Aid that I mentioned earlier that's slowly and painfully being ripped off your skin is very much akin to you finding out right after you have breached the $1 million mark. Let's say you're making $1.2 million per year, a nice cool $100,000 per month. You've reached that level. Every single day feels like a fire. It feels like any single moment the whole business could collapse and shut down. You're on, you're off, you're on, you're off, all the time, up and down. It's mad. You're like, I have no idea what my business even does. Sometimes we get these customers, sometimes we get these customers. I have no idea. You're just confused. You're a hot mess of confusion, right? And then you realize, I must get better. I need to chunk down. I need to be very avatar specific. I need to really focus on selling one thing very well. And you realize that. And you realize it needs to start in the demand gen side, meaning you need to get really good at ads, speaking to one type of avatar, because your business is much more profitable for these customers versus these customers. And what you do is, rather than chunking down, doing a whole bunch of volume, calling a whole bunch of your existing customers, getting on the phone, speaking to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people ASAP, and getting it done in like a month, you slowly and gradually continue to remain in this stagnant sideways position. Yeah, I know that I just don't know exactly, I don't really want to annoy those people, and so you stagnate. And you sidetrack, and you sidetrack, and you sidetrack. And some people sidetrack for years, right? And they stay in exactly the same position simply due to indecision, and then secondarily, not doing the reps and the volume required to build the skill set of the next level to be able to actually access the next level of growth. And the reason I'm so obsessed with this concept is because at any single transition moment in my entire career, whether that's going from 0 to 1 million, 1 million to 10 million, 10 million to 20 million and beyond, it's like the speed of the transition comes down to the ability for the entrepreneur to identify the constraint or the bottleneck in the business and then force as much physical energy, attention, volume, humans, cash into that constraint for as long as required, until the business is no longer constrained by that issue, whether it's the creative process, whether it's the talent and recruiting process, whether it's some kind of data and tracking kind of integrity, it doesn't matter what it is, but it's like the volume is always the answer, because the volume, what it does is it offsets the mood, it builds the skill set, it conditions you to have a much more delayed feedback loop in terms of, rather than being hyper dopamine addicted and being like, I need the next thing, I need the next thing, I've got to be looking for that next win. It goes, okay, how long did it take for me to get good in this position here? Geez, that took me about 12 months. Okay, cool. Geez, how long did I delay and kind of distract myself for? A little while. Okay, so now that we've identified the issue is our recruiting process, or now we've identified the issue is our talent management process, or it might be the way that we kind of do our creative process, we need to fix this problem. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to gradually and slowly and painfully plod along and bleed money right now while also robbing our future business and our future profit of revenue and cash by not doing the volume? It's an insane position to be in. And the worst part of all is that because the founder, right, usually by the time they realize this stuff, they've kind of got something that's okay, right? And so they're not in a desperate need to do insane levels of volume. What I mean by that is, you know, your business might be making like $1 million a year, and you're kind of like, well, it's not good compared to them, but like, it's all right. Let's be real, like it's all right. And like, that is the issue. You don't have a burning bridge. You don't have anything that's like a desperation that's driving you forward to go and get that thing with a whole insane level of like violent aggression towards solving the problem. And so the antidote to most every single one of the issues that you're currently experiencing in your business is A, identification of what that issue is, B, the absolute maxed out focus of insane levels of volume simply until it is done. That is the thing. Your confidence will increase when you do more volume, right? Your ability to understand and make better decisions will also increase by way of when you understand what it truly takes to do something so damn well that it has such an insane effect on your business. What it also does by direct extension goes, yeah, there's no way I would ever take on another business. There's no way I would ever take on another product. There is no way, knowing what I know now, that I would ever say yes to another partnership. If I had to, and I do have to do that much work to be good in that thing, there's no way no way I'm doing it. Because that's the thing. You understand? The broke people, they are the ones that are spinning around there offering partnership deals, collaborations, because they have no idea how difficult it is to go that deep and be so damn fucking good at the thing. And once you get a true taste of like, oh wow, okay, yes, I see now. Got it. Yeah, no, I'm fine. We're not launching any other products this year. We're not doing any other marketing initiatives this year. We're not launching any other funnels this year. We're just doing those two. And we're going to do them so damn well, and we're going to do them for so damn long until people are looking at us like we are absolutely fucking stupid out of our mind, until our faces are black and blue because we've just been focusing on one thing. And it's like when you're able to experience that level of volume, experience that level of focus being placed onto one specific thing, you get a taste for what it feels like to actually get good, right? And that's the gift that I want to give you with this video. If for whatever reason, that's all you take out of this thing, you just go out there and extend out the amount of volume you're going to do. And then through doing that amount of volume, it gives you a better perspective of A, what it takes, right? B, the type of decisions that you should be making and the decisions that you should be flat ignoring and the shiny objects that you should just be saying a hot no to. My job is done, right? And then the kind of like bonus aside out of all of this is you're going to feel more confident. When you do more volume and you build a business that's based on consistent inputs versus vibes and feelings, depending on the day of the week, depending on what's going on in your life or the weekend or your relationship with your spouse, you will build a much more consistent, stable business. So A, focus on the damn volume. Whatever the issue is that you are currently facing in your business, chances are if you 10x the amount of inputs that you are trying to cram into that thing, creatives, phone calls, recruitment cycles, data points, and then you also reduce the amount of time that you accept as probable, normal, okay, acceptable. So 10x the inputs, meaning force 10x the amount of time, budget, people, reps into the doing of the thing, and then reduce the expected acceptable time frame. Elon Musk has this thing, look to 10x your vision, and then also, 2x or reduce the target required by 10x, some insane math that has you just go like, what would need to be required for me to 10x my vision and then do it in a 10 percentile of the time? It like blows your mind, right? But it's kind of the same thing, except be prepared for it to take 10 times what you think as well, because you're way down below that waterline, just figuring out the skill set, and your degree of competence is still so damn low. Get out there and 10x your volume, do that thing immediately. It's gonna build more confidence. You're gonna feel better about how you show up and operate as an entrepreneur every single day. You're gonna make much better decisions because you're not half doing, or not even half, you're not just like touching a whole bunch of things. You're going deep, 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 deep into 2, 3, 4, maximum 4 things for a long, 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 long period of time. I hope this has been helpful. Get some confidence up by doing more reps. Extend out the time feedback loop of when you expect to see a return, and you'll build a much better business. Bye for now.